So there we go. Hello and welcome to everyone in the audience. Say hello to my colleagues on Twitch. We are 6 people today, as you can see. Fantastic. Um,
Okay.
we have already 2 submissions, and everyone in the audience, feel free to drop us links about your compositions. I will drop the link for the Google form on which you should place the links. Please write a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the work, and if it's longer than 3 minutes, please make sure to drop us a timestamp that we know at which direction we should listen to. Um, so far, we have the first one, which is from Craig. I will just.
I'm gonna
Hold
drop
on.
in a comment
Uh, okay, so
to
we have
our
we have
people.
Matt today. Matt is going to be taking care. We're going to do some listening to all these clips, and then Matt will pick one out today, and he's going to do a special, uh, like a special thing about finding your voice. So I'll let Matt go. Tell
Yeah.
us about it,
So
Matt.
what we're gonna do, everyone out in the Etherland, uh, excuse me, the hive mind. Uh, we're gonna listen. If anything sticks out to a professor where we feel like we can make a pertinent comment, we're gonna talk about your stuff. But then I'm gonna pick out one piece that I feel like I can help add clarity to and speak positively about. And then we're all going to sort of try and take that apart. So it's a huge compliment if yours gets picked. Don't feel offended when we start tearing into it. We just want to help make everyone better composers. And so we're going to use one of the pieces through that. So the first half is going to be primarily listening, and the second half we're going to really look at composition.
Okay, and if I leave for a minute, that means my neck is killing me, and I got to get up. So don't be offended.
Okay, so I just dropped the link in the Zoom. If you want, you can start. You can pause, Matt. If you want to take the control, I will just prepare the second link for you if you want
Oh,
to.
I can just press play.
Yes, but press on the bar, not on the. I will load the
Okay,
music.
cool. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, so if you have the control through the stuff, the bottom left play button is where you can play and pause. So there we go. I will just switch to the
Yeah.
Zoom, and Matt is going to
So
take.
just to help me out, we didn't get the composer or the name of that tune.
Was that Prairie Drag?
No, that was Craig. That was Craig Skeffington.
Craig Scaffington, very excellent job. That is just a real treat to listen to that.
Yeah.
Very nicely composed and smooth transitions harmonically and great different instruments feeding off each other. It was great. Go ahead.
Hot horn section, man.
Yes.
Right group. What's the name of the tune?
The name of the tune is Nor'easter. It's actually just what it's here
All
in my
right.
list.
Well, thanks,
Okay.
Craig. That was
Craig here.
constant, to say the least.
Craig, are you there?
I don't see him.
Actually, the name of the tune looks like from here that it's a waltz, man, which would make sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a waltz, man.
It's a waltz, man.
Because it was.
What was it? A waltz? A jazz waltz?
It's a jazz waltz, and it was also interesting because it was like a blues with a bridge, which is not a usual form, and I really liked that.
With the where was the bridge? Yeah.
Yeah, it was blues and a bridge.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else want
Well,
to make a quick
Craig, we'll
comment?
probably get back to you. That was awesome.
Is
Does
Craig
anyone
here?
have any brief comments?
I don't see him in the audience. I don't know if he's here.
That's very
Well, everyone who's
unfortunate.
listening, that was some solid writing. Let's check out the next one.
The next one is from Predrag. So I will open the music, and you can just play and pause.
By the
Matt,
way,
whatever
did
you want.
anybody have a contact to Craig?
Sorry.
Did he leave a? Do we have a contact for Craig to get a hold of him?
No. He was just very. I just dropped like 5 words. He just dropped like 5 words.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Then we just go for the next one. I'm sorry for that, but is my screen broken or is the video flickering?
The video is flickering.
Ah. All right. No, we just keep continue listen. So, anyone have something?
Yeah, it was great. I think we're all sort of holding back in case there's more links, and we'll discuss deeper later. Personally, I thought it was pretty sweet. If it's the one I choose, I'm gonna dig into it later because there were a lot of great things and a lot of things I think could help. Are you there, Perjag?
He's in the audience, yeah. I
Yeah,
think so. I think so. Wait a
1980.
second. Wait a second. I think so.
He's on YouTube.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, nice piece. I will probably dig into this one a little later because I think there's some things in terms of clarity we can talk about, and then also I'd like to hear more about sort of the direction you were taking with it and how you started it.
Is there anybody else in the audience?
We have Dan Buckley who submitted a track.
Okay, cool.
Just a second. Now we can go. Let's have a listen to Dan Buckley's track.
Oh, we know Dan. I know Dan.
Yeah, he's a regular viewer, and my webcam is stuck. Okay, cool. Let's just go for the browser, and let's have a listen. Matt, can you have a look that it's working? Nice one. Nice one.
I love the reference that I picked up on at the very end. I had to go look it up to make sure I got it right. It was Quentin Tarantino, little green bag from the movie Reservoir Dogs at the very beginning. If that was what you were going for, I definitely picked up on that. If not, then maybe it's just a neat coincidence. But I thought it fit the theme nicely.
How was the mix, Johannes?
The mix was great. I felt that the MIDI drums could have sounded a little bit more realistic because it's a very generic bass drum sound from Toon Track. But the mix was great. I just felt like the organ could have a little more reverb or something to not make it that 100% direct in your face, and the guitars are 100% in your face, and the drums the bass drum is actually back in the room, but actually, I mean, the mix is fine. I definitely heard more worse mixes than that. It was a good, pretty decent mix.
Sorry,
Yeah,
we tried to plug
I'll
you
probably have comments on it later, Dan. In the meantime,
in. My
if
little
you'll type
cartoon
in
guy.
the comments what you wrote it for and sort of your inspiration, because it was a nice track. Um, but in terms of the
Let me
theme
see
of
if
today's
if he
show,
if
It
he
was like
has.
it was
It's
like
There's a
a
description that he wrote when he filled out the Google form. I don't know if you can see that, Mac.
I
yeah, it
can't.
was. He's planning on playing it with his band someday.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's actually the. So he wants to play it in his band. So I think it's just like an idea, and he
Cool.
wants to do that.
And the
Yeah,
title of it, I was gonna say
I'll come
the
back to
title.
that track later in terms of today's theme, but it was nice.
We got I think the last link right now. It just popped in a second ago. Uh, do we have time? Do we have
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
we got
Okay.
We got. Oh, we've only been going for 15 minutes.
yeah, we're doing great. We're gonna have tons of time to dig into people's work, which is gonna be fun.
The last one is Bellum Divinum from Sign. Okay, let's have a listen to that. Oh, that sounds like EDM or something. Nice one. Nice one. I just felt that there are little issues in the percussion section. It just sounds like very, 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 like not in sync with the rest. It just feels like ooh. Um, but the
This
mix.
is like a. Oh, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's fine. The mix was great. The mix was great. I was like teased a bit when we had the second repetition of the beginning, and I was like, where is the drop? I was waiting after the first one, and then we heard the repetition. And I was like, is the drop now coming? And then I think it was the third repetition where we had actually the drop. I just felt it could be a little more early. And yeah, but the sound is great. The sound is great. A great mix, just like the percussion sync timing and
Does anybody know what this is? A kind of a harmonic variation on a famous piece. It's
Sounds
the
like
It's it's a 1/5 flat, flat 7, or major, flat
There's
6.
a genius Christopher picked it up.
Yeah, it's
It's a
it's
variation on Papa Bell's canon.
yeah, it's a Pachelbel canon in minor, basically, sort of. It's also very much a typical harmonic progression. Like lots of people use it. That's also La Folia.
yeah, it's a folia. That's what I was.
It's La Folia for sure.
Yeah.
La Folia.
Is that ours Nova or ours Antigua? I always forget.
No, it's neither. It's like 17th century.
Yeah.
I think it's Portuguese or something, but
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like,
okay. It's one of the Chacon styles.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no more links, I'm guessing.
Yep.
No more links. Well, thanks everyone. So we're gonna have time to cover everything except for Craig's piece because he's not there.
Oh,
So,
I think you should, and I can send it to him.
well, I want to.
Let's put that last then.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I want to say about Craig's piece is like everyone out there, that was consummate work. Dude's a pro.
Yes.
So
Very
take
much.
notes. I have one pervasive comment for everything but Pedrus's, and I don't know how to say your name, so apologies.
Craig
Um,
Rad.
which is, it's got to be nastier. Which is always my comment, and oddly that will add clarity, and we'll get to that later. I wanted to start with Dan's track because I thought it would be the easiest to speak to. So Dan, great track. I would totally bop to it at a concert. As a recording, my experience was I had a tendency to drift off because I kind of knew what was going to happen. And the point of that is back to Johannes's comment about bellum divinum sign. I don't know if that's which is the title and which not. Uh, Missing the drop, and now the format you are in doesn't necessarily have a drop, but these changes between flourishes and these changes between who's taking the lead can be way stronger and way more out there. And what I mean by that is that opening intro was a great lead in. I
Yeah.
wouldn't change too much about that if I was writing it. It was nice having that like pleasant arpeggiation and things like that. The second it got bigger, I didn't I didn't sense clarity on specifically what I was supposed to follow. Like, did I want to hang out with the guitar? Did I want to hang out with the drums? Were you setting up the groove? Because the intro wasn't setting up the groove. That was a really nice like check out this chord progression. Here's tickling your ears, and it was lovely. The second the rest of it dropped in, it felt a little overproduced, and I feel like in the form of the song, if you set up that groove, which is like, okay, you got tickled by the intro with the arpeggiation and sort of the chords we're using, and then now here's what you can bop to or dance to or thrash to, whatever it is. Um, then go into the flourishes of specific instruments, like this is drum time, this is guitar time, this is duo time, this is as big and noisy as we can make it. And that's where my nastier comment comes in, which is when you build with really clearly who's taking the lead, when everyone comes in, all of a sudden you have this profound wall of sound that we can track, not with sort of like, oh, it's loud and big and confusing and fun. We can track it with like, oh, yes, that's how the guitar wails. I can switch to the drums. That's how they wail this. And it's just big in your face thing that has more of an arc than these little sort of snippets of things coming out.
Oh,
That
I
said,
can
don't
make a
feel
little
hurt by
comparison.
anything I said. It was a lovely piece. Anyone else have comments? Because then I can follow up
I
with
was
some
gonna.
other things.
What you're talking about, Matt, is like Beethoven's Seventh, the second movement, bum 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 bum, and then he just builds and builds on top of the same thing until it's a massive cathedral of fantastic expression. It's kind of like that. You build like
Yeah,
an
and
arc.
when you have these obligato chord progressions, how you do that becomes pretty important in terms of listener experience. Uh, because after a while, we have the sad and horrible baggage of having heard so much on the airwaves, right? We've all heard tons of music, we've heard tons of metal, we've heard tons of pop, and the second it clicks in to a trope or some sort of meme, we lose the concentration to stick with what a musician might be doing, right? And so having something very specific stylistically, I think can aid that a lot in a general sense, not just on Dan's piece, but in a general sense. Someone else dig into clarity.
Um, I have some thoughts.
Yeah.
One of them is just on the instrumental sound. And if this is really meant to be a live band thing, this might be moot a little bit. But I still feel like I should say it because I don't think people always think about that when they're doing tracks. But part of the reason why it feels a little mechanical, which it does to me a little bit, is because there is no layer in the dynamics and in the articulations. Like if I'm doing a drum track, I want to make sure that it's accented like a drum track. And it's not really accented like a drum track. Everything is at the same accentual level. Everything is, there may be bigger dynamic things, but there aren't the little dynamics that happen. Like oftentimes when I'm doing a track, I'll go through and I'll do each individual spot to like goose this, bring this down so that it sounds more like a natural drum. And I felt like that wasn't really there. On the other hand, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
If that's not there, if you're not trying to do an electronic track as the final thing, and this is just a demo, may not be necessarily so important, except that I feel like your demos need to feel as natural as possible. My other thing, and this may be a quirk of mine because I'm tired of this chord progression. This chord progression was like the coolest chord progression in the world when I was 17. And I did like so many one minor, flat 7, flat 6, 5 progressions. I just was like, oh, this is so cool. And I can do this and I can do that. And everybody has done them. So you might want to look at not changing the whole thing. I mean, it's fine to use that progression, but it's the only progression you use.
I was muted the whole time. I gave him a little credit because he did have some surprise chords in there to kind of lead away.
Well, yeah, there are
a few,
but good incidentals. In terms of clarity, Chris, if you don't mind, what I was thinking was like before the big sound, if you just did a predominant or flatted something, so that we know we're going to the huge part. In terms of today's theme, that's the clarity we're talking about. If we just end up on autopilot with what chords are happening, the arc of the story doesn't continue, and who we're supposed to be listening to doesn't come in our face, and that's actually musically kind of necessary on a certain level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. I mean, a little bit, you don't even necessarily have to take that original chord progression and go away from it and trash it or modulate or anything like that. But what you can do is you can decorate it up a little bit more.
You could also, like, you have all these flats and these minors and stuff. Try to do something in like the parallel major, like, make a section where it's contrasted in a brighter major key,
As long as it works with the overall arc that you're trying to do.
I would think of it in terms of the story. I would add in a major section like that before the biggest drop, just as like, hey, break time, now slam. Anything, I know it's not orchestral, Will, but anything from a sort of arrangement standpoint in terms of clarity?
You're muted.
I agree with what everybody has said. I think that another listen would be helpful for me. So maybe I will.
Let's do the last.
I didn't want to take. Okay, yeah, that might be helpful. Because I was going to say I could maybe listen.
Before we do that, does Upman, you have anything to say? You want to mute? Just say something quick about it. and then we'll listen. Or do you want to listen first? Do you want to
Muted.
listen to? He's not. We can't hear you. It's squeaky.
Oh,
It's
yeah, we can't hear you.
We're gonna listen to it first.
let's listen to
Upamanyu,
you.
when you figure out how we can hear you, we will listen to your comments. Give us the last minute.
Mute yourself, please, or mute Upamanu. We can sit and talk while we're. Everybody unmute yourself, and we'll talk while we listen.
That's not a bad
That
idea,
could work.
actually.
All
Yeah,
right.
that could work.
Okay. So, do you have the link? No. Wait. Let me open the form. Let me open the form. My webcam
Okay,
is
I was
hanging
gonna say
again.
I could.
Sorry, guys, I'm being a little casual. I'm gonna lay
Okay.
down for my minute.
Which track are we listening to now?
Dan Buckley's.
Fall by Dan Buckley.
Dan Buckley's one. All right. All right. Okay. The link is here, and there's a track. So we want to have a listen again, right?
Sure.
To the last minute.
All right. Fantastic.
Turn it up loud so I can hear.
Let's
I don't
do
have
the last. Can we do the last minute?
Sure.
I just did it.
There we go.
Let's go a little earlier than that.
Got some organ.
Yeah. Okay. So I do have some comments. So to kind of go along with what Matt was saying earlier, definitely just more of everything. And I know that this is like kind of a temp recording, scratch recording. And this will eventually get hopefully be placed in front of a live band. So they're gonna automatically lean more towards fixing a lot of the stuff that I'm thinking right now, but just needs more seasoning, if you will.
Seasoning.
Yeah, like I think about the Hammond,
Southern
the
soul
presence of,
food.
well, and it doesn't have to be soul food, but no, but like the use of the Hammond B3 organ, one of the things that makes that sound so groovy, almost sexy, if you will, is like the extra added notes that are added in, not just the one note that you play at one time, but like the you know that kind of stuff that can be like just added in to just add to the texture and to just kind of bring out the elements and really make the instrument kind of unified as a whole animal, which it really can be if done well and is done correctly.
What is
All of the
what
bits
is
and pieces can
what,
work together.
what is that
Um,
Macy Gray song that has the organ in it? Uh, Macy Gray. Oh, never mind.
I am not sure, but let me stay on my train of thought for just a second, because
So,
I think that would really help, and not just with the Hammond B3 organ, but even the drum parts. I mean, like again, like what Matt said, make it just nastier. It can even be a little bit more of a grungy type sound, because it definitely kind of leans in that direction anyway, especially at the very beginning with that drum, with that drum beat, that whole thing. So definitely just more of everything. And I know once you get it in front of live players, a lot of that will happen anyway. But just kind of keep that in mind.
sometimes busy is bad, but sometimes busy is good.
Oh, and I think what we're saying is how you do it. If you set
Balance
yourself
it.
up for more is more, you can do it, and that wall of sound will be nasty and correct. But if you don't set it up so that you can track how that crazy busyness is working, it just becomes busy, right? And
Yeah.
Dan, I don't think your piece was ever busy. I think it wasn't specific in terms of how the arc of the story was really going to go.
Can we go on to?
Before we move too far, Upamanyu was going to say something.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll be.
Uh-oh, still can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Still can't hear
Upamanu.
you. You're gonna have sorry.
Let's go
You're
to.
gonna have to.
You might
So
want
so
So
you might want to leave and come back and see if you can redo
Oh
your.
yeah. Leave
yeah.
leave the chat. Come back to Zoom.
Um,
Leave the
and
Zoom
so
chat
I
and
had
come back.
one more thing to bring up. I came prepared for today. Um,
so Matt.
I, I think it's relevant here, which is I brought my Arcangelo Corelli score.
Ah,
Oh,
And
really?
let's see, can everyone see that? So
Yeah. Got a
the
lot of
top
30
line is a
seconds.
transcription his student made. Johnny, just let me talk. His top line was a transcription his student made of a ad lib he did in performance, and the bottom line is the notes he actually wrote as a thing. What this has to do with this piece, and actually, I think Divinum, I don't know how to say it, Bell of Divinum, is you set up a fairly, basically a folia of some sort, chord progression that repeats. And Corelli is not doing anything different, but he's really specific. And the first time, in historical context, he would have just played that really easy line um, for the first repetition, and then he would have broken into his variations ad libitum. Um, and you can see the way he does that is super specific. Here it's just a lead in to the next note, or I'm backwards. Sorry, it's mirror image here. Here's the lead in to the next note and the chord change. Here he's arpeggiating what's happening. Here he's really doing a lot of neighbor tones
Yeah.
on and embellishing rhythmically what's happening with the chord changes, and he just keeps going through that, and it works. Um, Bach copied it, but and then if you look, and this is really cool because if you look at this line here and you see how Corelli did this line here, when you get out my good friend Bach, you can see
Mm.
that he actually did the same thing. He took a plain chant tone, some sort of hymn or something, and embellished it in the exact same way. He just wrote down his ad libitum work as part of the composition, right? Um, and so for everyone, not just Dan, because Dan, it was a lovely piece, but this idea, I actually find pencil and paper works the best, which is you have your chord progression and you don't have to write notes. I know not everyone reads music and things like that, but if you just chart out the progression or even the whole song, and you just write first time linear scales, second time arpeggiation, third time rhythmic change, that clarity will automatically happen, and then you can distribute it between players. You can be like, all right, and it's not that you need to be an autocrat in rehearsal or anything, drummer, you're gonna do it like this. But if you present this level of clarity, that means when we get to the bottom for the cadenza, which is what that last chord progression is, it's sort of your cadential moment, everyone can go wild and it makes total sense. And then you can just end on the big drop. Um, so I want to move on. Dan, great piece. Thanks for letting us talking about it. I hope what we had to say helps. We might come back in a bit. Um, I
Where's
wanted to
Johannes?
go to.
Johannes is gone.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I think my
Oh,
webcam is
sorry.
broken.
Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
Okay. I want to go to Pedrag's piece. And Pedrag, I
Okay.
was curious about Inception, because I had a few comments in terms of our theme today, but it was a lovely avant-garde percussion thing. Are you there, and can you give us a comment about what you were doing and where you were headed? And Upamanyu, does your mic work?
Upamanyu, what you might do if worst case scenario, maybe record your comments and see if you can like post like an MP3 of that in the chat here, and then maybe we could play it back live or something.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Also, I want to invite everyone who's a listener in the audience today and or presented a piece. If you have a question for us, like we didn't cover something in your piece or we didn't even reference it in the sort of deeper dive here, feel free to like be like, Matt, will you have another listen? I was curious about help in this area or just wanted to comment. I know most of us professors here are going to be pretty happy to give a second listen.
Let me. Uh, I'm
Oh, we
sorry.
have you.
Am I audible?
Yes.
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 What did you have to say?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I was using a mobile
Oh.
earphone, and I think it is malfunctioning. So
Okay.
Well,
my
now it's
voice
not.
isn't
So,
coming.
what did you
I
have to
could
say
hear
about Dan's
everything,
piece?
What'd you think?
and I was actually meditating and listening to all the music as well as your voices, but I had no clue that my voice is not going through.
Okay, Paydrag is here. He's just sent me a message, so he's
Cool.
watching. So let's see what he.
All right, let's.
Yeah. Okay. So for this piece, I'm not going to specifically say anything. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
Pedrig's piece.
Huh.
You there?
You
And
gonna,
Pedrig,
you gonna play it again?
what comments did you send to Johnny?
Oh, he said he's here. He's on the YouTube stream, not the.
Cool. Did you hear my question? I was curious, sort of your inception of this piece and where you were headed and what you were trying to sort of do with it.
Yeah, Paydrag, send me messages as we talk, okay?
Um, can we listen to the back 2.5 minutes of it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Johannes.
For sure. The
It's only a minute and a half piece, though.
Let's listen to the whole thing because I didn't hear it the first time. I was having technical difficulties.
Let's listen to the whole.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's hear it. Is it playing?
Yep.
Turn it up loud.
I am not 100% sold on whether those dissonant notes are supposed to be there or not, or if that was just a mistake. The piece sounds melodic enough to where I could believe if those dissonant notes were actually a mistake.
It's like
not-
half of it's melodic and the other half is
Yeah,
totally.
but I could
different.
also believe if it was actually supposed to be those dissonant notes. I think that speaks to.
Can you tell us, Pedrig?
I also think it sort of depends on where in the piece it is, because there's that one spot where it's octave seventh, and it seems too calculated for it to have been a mistake.
Yeah, there's that.
I
agree there.
So back to our theme. I could not hear your lyrics or your voice, and it
Right.
sounded like they were in another language, which is fine. A transcription would be great, but if you're gonna sing, it has to be audible. Otherwise, whatever you're trying to do, we're gonna lose it in the mix.
Okay.
The other thing, and this is a comment I make frequently, so don't feel put on the spot. Uh, I don't think the video complemented what you were doing with the performance. Um, it's cool to put the extra filters on and we all mess around. But the piece was subtle enough that you had enough visual data going on simply by us watching the bow hit the vibraphone and your expressive ability there. So I'd encourage everyone, um, and I would say this with every video that we watched, except for the jazz one. That was awesome. It was just a blank screen. Um, if you're presenting it to a critique crowd like us, which you don't have to make a whole new video, but score just going along with us or a black screen, we're gonna be able to pick out what's happening musically much more clearly. If you're producing a music video,
Oh, you said
and I can
it's
see how the
live.
two I can see what you were doing with the filter you had on it was complementing sort of the dissonance of the piece. But even then, in the interest of clarity, I think we would have gotten more out of it by watching you do the performance work. And so really focus on everyone. This is just across the board with the videos we see. Focus on not trying to distract us with complementary imagery so that we don't pick up on things that may be mixing compositionally. Try and complement exactly what needs to be heard in the performance. So in the Bellum Divinum piece, it was a lovely piece, and that the metal angel imagery was cool, but after a while, the images sort of subverted the purpose of the music, rather than creating imagery that really points us into a better listening experience. Um, and this happens, and I know why it happens. A, we're on our computers goofing around and trying to make the thing that we want to watch on YouTube. uh, but B, also, when we're not confident enough about what we're doing musically, we try and distract from it. And that's not saying anyone did this on purpose or you're bad for doing it. That I'm saying that's like a deep unconscious thing that we all sort of have to overcome in terms of presenting music. And it's something that takes a lot of consideration and things like that.
Matt, I just want to say, in case nobody else has pointed it out, Predrag has been messaging and
Okay,
commenting the entire time.
cool. What are you saying, buddy?
Uh,
Someone read it to me because I don't have them.
Well,
It's
I
it's a
got. He
lot.
said he's dealing with sound colors,
Yeah,
microtonality, and time change. He's just playing with
yeah,
different techniques, and it's live, not mixed.
cool. Yeah, I caught that, and it was awesome. But I'm glad it was on purpose. The feedback I have in terms of your voice and clarity on that, um, two things specifically, and then I'll sort of open it up to everyone else if they have things that add clarity. Um, if you have the means, I think you could have had another person in there. I think you had enough nuance going on that having two musicians play the pieces, but play the instruments, would have augmented the performance quite a bit, to the extent that we caught the progression you were doing with the vibes, whatever it was. Um, and
Times.
sometimes you could, if you weren't doing so much, because it was pretty cool what you were doing, um, you could have pushed one of the tones with a complementary tone, either leading or following it. But when you have two hands and fourth hitting, it's hard to have incidentals like that. So in the context of that piece, I think another musician would have really aided it.
Yeah.
The other comment is that was such wonderful little taste about what you were describing that it felt like it needed to be like a 5-minute piece to me to what you were doing rhythmically and tonally.
Chris is
Because I was
dying
like,
to jump
oh
in on
yeah,
that.
jump into this, and then it was like, oh, it's over. Someone else talk.
I was just seconding exactly what you said. I was just getting into the piece when the piece was over. And I felt like there was more that could be unfolded with it. It's to me, it was
Hold on. He may have just given us 3 minutes of it because that was a 3-minute max.
no, it wasn't 3 minutes. It was a minute and a half.
Oh, okay, all right.
So I feel like that may be all
I
there.
thought we listened to the last minute.
No, that was the entire piece that we just heard,
Okay.
or at least everything that we've gotten of it. It also makes me wonder because it's called Voice 1. Possibly there's Voice 2 and Voice 3 and Voice 4, and we just heard the first part of it. That's possible, but there was like a process going on. This was in some ways a very processy piece. I think it was like tone bow, tone bow, tone bow, and the bow was always like half a step off or dissonant off in some way, even though the piece is not atonal at all. The piece actually comes across as very tonal, just tonal with some spiciness to it. And then
sound color.
Right, and then adding the I guess it was a gong. It sounded like a China cymbal to me.
They were tiny gongs.
Yeah, very tiny
It
gongs.
even says that in the title, 2 small gongs.
But I thought it initially I was like, ooh, that's out of place. But as they repeated, it became part of that whole rhythmic thing. And I really liked that. The one thing I had a huge question about was why the wind chimes. That felt like it came
I
out.
was going to ask, is the wind chimes, is that just improvised, or are the notes like written down? Are they?
No, I mean, you can't. You really, basically, all you do is you gliss on the wind chime on those like chime tree things. You just gliss it.
So
can I piggyback on the wind chimes real quick?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
And I've got a quick
Oh,
comment
I was just
also.
going to say, formally, what I heard is it was the transition from the exposition into what we might call a development in the context of that piece. I think silence would have done better.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because what I was going to say with it is when you bring in a sound, and that sound is heard once and that's never done again, it just sort of stands there alone saying, why am I here? Whereas like and a chime tree like that is a hard one to do because it's not really generally meant to be heard by itself. It's meant to complement something that's going on in the rest of the orchestra. When it's done by itself, it has almost a little bit of a cliche feeling to it. It can be lovely, but it's just sort of okay, and it and I think silence would have been a lot better. This piece is sitting there so much in the quiet zone, and then those big gongs, that we don't need to hear anything there. We just need to like digest a little bit.
Yeah, and as a more meta comment, just for everyone else's pieces, because I think we've talked a lot today about musical changes in terms of the form, right? So we went from exposition to development, and then other people's it was changing section of the chord progression or whatever. It's 99% of the time more powerful to let the music do it than let a new instrument do it, or rely on some sort of, I don't want to say cliche, that's mean, but rely on some sort of surprise when you don't really need the surprise. The music will carry it all the way, and if you focus on that tidbit, you can improve the music. You can be like, oh, how can I do this specifically musically? If I only had one instrument, how could I make the music present this change?
Okay, so yeah. So 2 quick things. First of all, I am looking at the comment that Preacher provided at the in the form. apparently the what we were watching was just a short clip of of
Okay.
what may actually be a longer piece. He says that he has the entire piece on YouTube if we would like to hear it. I would, for
Okay,
one,
Oh,
I think that's what
I
he's
want to
putting
hear
in.
it. It sounds awesome.
absolutely. And so I just want to bring that part out because we did make it a point to speak about the length of the
I
piece. And so, yeah. And so the other thing was, Matt, I was going to say to your comment about the, adding in the second player to this piece, especially as a publisher. Sometimes you do want to have that, especially if you know that the benefit of that could be that just the overall enhancement of the performance of the piece. Two people being able to cover those parts and do more with it than one person trying to do everything themselves. But then also on the flip side, there is that whole thing about the piece being that much more flexible and mobile because there is only one person doing it as opposed to multiple people. That automatically would get you into more opportunities to have the piece performed, even if it's just by a minuscule amount. Something is better than nothing, and so maybe even having two versions of the piece available, one for one player specifically, and then another version that could work for two players.
Or
Um,
even writing in the title for one or two players.
I'm trying to see if he
Right.
got the
Yeah.
full.
No, and I think that brings up another topic um, for clarity and getting your voice out of there. I think every song we heard tonight or today, whatever time it is where you are, multiple versions is a very good thing. I think I think not limiting yourself to that this is the Urtext performance thing, but like every single one, even that great jazz piece first off. I mean the jazz that's indicative of that field. It's gonna be different every time. But I would encourage everyone as you're mixing, don't throw it out because we made comments or something. Keep it. It's one of the versions. It's awesome. It has a place, it has a time.
I, I
Expand on it and mess with it and see how many versions you can get because then it becomes much more plastic in terms of performance,
oh,
right?
I'm,
Can you
s-
make
my
I'm
my
sending the
mother,
full
who is
version.
not a professional musician, gave me perhaps what was the most useful bit of non-professional advice that I have been able to use in my profession, which is never, as a composer, never, ever, ever hit the delete button, and because there is always something that your music could always be used for, if not now, but in the future.
Johannes, I sent you the full score, the full video for his
Okay.
piece.
can we put it up on the CFN page so we can just go to it at our leisure?
For sure. I will just drop
Well, and that's
the.
also for Pedrick. And
Okay.
with what Will said, we talked about the wind chimes in this context. I think no matter what, they need a second look, but correctly done, that timbre could have a place in the subtlety of what you're doing musically. Right? Never hit the delete button, but create the version where that's exasperated a little bit more. Create the version where it's left out, and bring it to us, bring it to your friends or whatever, and see what pushes people to where you want to go the most.
Upamanya, do you have any comments? We can be hard to jump in on.
Hey, you guys, I'm sorry. I actually gotta go because I'm at my sister. We got food. We gotta eat. I'm
Hi.
sorry, you guys.
All right, peace
I
out,
said
Johnny.
I'd be done by 3:30.
All right,
Okay.
John, feel better, man.
I'll come back and later. Oh, let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear
Yes, we
you.
can.
Yes. The uses of the instruments. I mean, the overall instrumentation in this composition is the most attractive aspect for me.
Yeah. Is that all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
great
use less
orchestration.
words, more intensity, less words.
Yeah, awesome.
That works.
Yeah,
You
Well,
see, if you analyze this, if you the instruments how they have been used. Now, if I have to explain it further, see, there's a unique, an innovative thought process behind the uses of the instruments. Do you remember the piece clearly? So they have been sorted in a organized in a very coherent manner. Yet there's a smartness there. You see, it is not conventional. It is very much experimental, but it is very much coherent. So it sounds very natural. It sounds very natural. It doesn't sound awkward, but this is not exactly the way conventionally composers do things. So the composers, the artist's expertise here is how to sort this kind of instruments out efficiently. So this has been done so naturally that here it becomes very much unique and attractive to my ears. I can distinguish that this is different from other pieces. Okay.
good. I'm gonna
Or
cut
in
you
a,
off.
on a mini, sorry.
Oh, I'm gonna cut you off because our time's up. But I
Yeah.
think we all agree with your comments. They were awesome. Thanks everyone for your music. I hope we could help you. Feel free to reach out to us. And happy writing, happy listening, and send us more stuff. That was great pieces.
Yeah, I think
Beautiful music.
that was a great show with lots of meaningful tips. I hope to be able to get my webcam back on working to the next show. Next week I will not be here. We have a gig on Saturday night, the first and the only one this year. Um, and I got some stuff to do, but we will see us in 2 weeks. For the next show. Thanks for everyone in the audience. I closed the form so we can start with the links again, like for the next show. Then William or like Chris or John needs to open
Yeah, I
up the
won't be
form.
here next week either.
Okay.
I have a feeling we're gonna call next week off, so we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
Yeah, all right. So we'll see us in 2 weeks, and the form will be closed. Everyone in the audience, if you drop links, it will not work out. You can drop
And
the
we'll
links
try
when
and
we start the
send
stream.
the theme so you can present pieces that I think Chris will talk about.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
Chris, and William, Ivan Vitoshkin is in the audience, and I think you guys were about to talk about private lessons or something on his track. Is there something?
I actually wanted to talk to William about that before we responded on that.
Okay, all right. So you have it in mind now, Ivan.
That's
Please,
in my mind.
please,
Yes.
please give us a few more days, and we will get back to you. We have not forget you. All right. So far, well done. I wish everyone a nice Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon. Take care, and we will see us in 2 weeks again.
Thanks,